Hello there. My name is Noah Bennett, and I want to thank you for being here with me tonight. Before we begin our story, I invite you to take a few quiet moments, just for yourself. Find a comfortable position. Let your shoulders soften. Rest your hands wherever they feel most at ease. If you wish, gently close your eyes. Tonight we're diving into the fascinating world of Greek mythology. As always, let me know where in the world you're listening from. Get cozy, settle in, and let's begin. In the beginning, there was no Olympus, no earth, no sea, no sky. There was only chaos. And chaos was not the kind of chaos modern tongues describe. Disorder, confusion, frenzy. It was older than language itself. Chaos was a yawning void, a gaping nothingness without form or direction. It was not evil, nor good, nor even neutral. It simply was. From that ancient nothing came the first stirrings of existence. Gaia, the earth vast and unshaking.
Tartarus, the abyss beneath the earth, dark and dreadful. And Os, the force of love and desire, the binding agent of all future creation. These were not gods as we think of them, not yet, but elemental truths given form. Then came Nyx, the night, clothed in a shadow so thick even chaos recoiled. She was followed by Erebus, the darkness of the underworld, who would dwell beside her in that early silence. From the union of night and darkness came Ether, the pure upper air breathed by the gods, and Hera, the day, who from the beginning was fated to chase her mother endlessly across the sky. Thus the cycle of night and day was born not through science but through myth, through a family of strange, invisible titans who lit and dimmed the sky with each passing hour. Gaia, the earth herself, did not lie idle. She was patient and fertile, and from her own body she brought forth Uranus, the sky, vast and star-strewn. He was both her son and her consort.
And when he arched over her, stretching across the heavens, the world found its first shape, a dome sky above a broad and endless plain. Gaia did not create alone. From her fertile breath rose deep, echoing caverns and forests older than memory. From her pulse came the first rivers, winding and patient, and the very first fire smoldering beneath the world's crust. And when her longing touched the boundary of the endless beyond, Ouranos, the sky, unfolded above her star-crowned and unbroken, a vast canopy of shimmering blue. Earth and sky looked upon one another, and, in their meeting, the cosmos took its first true breath. From this union came beings grand and ancient, whose names would one day echo in temples and on the tongues of poets. The Titans, 12 in number, were neither mortal nor god in the way we now understand those words. They were forces, given shape and voice. They were the architecture of the world, made flesh. There was Oceanus, whose waters encircled all lands, like a shining serpent of eternity. Hyperion, radiant as the newborn sun. Coeus, seeker of hidden truth. Creus, who charted the constellations across the dome of night. Iapetus, father of all mortal striving, and Cronus, the last to be born, sharp-minded and silver-tongued, destined to overturn the order of the ages. Among their sisters, Theia, whose gaze made jewels gleam and light itself bow. Rhea, warm and ancient, who would cradle future gods in her arms. Themis,
whose very presence upheld the laws of heaven. Mnemosyne, keeper of memory's sacred flame. Phoebe, moon-crowned oracle. And Tethys, mother of every flowing stream. Together they stood as the first dynasty of the cosmos, older than Olympus, older than mankind's first whispered prayer beneath the stars. Mnemosyne, the memory of all things. Phoebe, the radiant one. And Tethys, the nourishing sea. But Gaea's womb was not finished with them. She bore monstrous children as well, beings of strength and dread. First came the Cyclops, Brontes, Steropopes, and Argus, each with a single eye burning like a forge in the center of their brow. They were the smiths of lightning, strong and simple, and they feared no god nor giant. Then came the Hecatonchires, the 100-handed ones, each of them enormous and terrible to behold, with 50 heads and 100 arms each, capable of stirring the very foundations of the world when enraged. Uranus, though lord of the sky, trembled at the sight of these monstrous offspring. Ashamed and frightened by their grotesque strength, he forced them back into Gaia's womb, the depths of earth itself, and sealed them there, hidden away beneath layers of rock and grief. Gaia groaned beneath their weight. The earth, once proud and nurturing, now suffered with every breath. It was in this pain that she began to scheme. But that is a story for another day. For now, remember this.
In the oldest age, before law or justice, before sword or plow, the world was made, not with hands, but with force and union and grief. Chaos birthed the first forms, but it was Gaia, the Great Mother, who gave them ground to stand upon. The union of Gaia and Uranus, earth and sky, was the first great marriage of the cosmos. It was not a marriage of altars or witnesses, but of necessity and nature. The sky stretched over the earth, holding her tightly, pressing her beneath his star-studded body, night after night. From the joining came the Titans, another mighty offspring, but also a deep and growing sorrow. For Uranus, though proud and vast, was a jealous and fearful father. He saw in the monstrous children Gaia bore not strength, but a threat to his dominion. He looked upon the Cyclopes and the 100-handed giants with revulsion, not wonder, and with swift, cruel judgment he thrust them back into Gaia's womb, deep into the belly of the earth, where no light reached and no voice could echo. Gaia groaned beneath their weight. It was not only the agony of bearing them within her again, but the betrayal of her consort, of Sky, who should have cherished their children as she did. Night after night, Uranus descended upon her, pressing down the heavens to meet the earth, blind to her pain and deaf to her grief. She could endure no longer. And so from her own flesh she fashioned a weapon, not of bronze or iron, for such things had not yet been dreamed, but a great sickle of unyielding flint, jagged as truth and sharp as vengeance. Then she went to her Titan sons, the firstborn and mightiest among her children, and laid bare her suffering. "Your father has wronged me," she said. "He has caged your brothers. He has silenced the womb that bore you. Who among you will aid me?" One by one they turned away, fearful of their father's might. Only Cronus, the youngest, the shrewdest, the one with watchful eyes and a patient heart, stepped forward. "I will do it," he said.
But Cronus did not act without purpose. The blow he struck shattered more than a father's reign. It shifted the balance of the cosmos. As the sky recoiled, the world trembled, and silence followed, deep and ancient. In that silence, Gaia exhaled, a long-suffering breath released at last. Yet violence once awakened does not rest easily. Where the drops of Uranus's blood fell upon the sacred earth, strange life took root. From the dark soil rose the Erinyes, the Furies, winged spirits of vengeance. Cloaked in shadow and unending wrath, their eyes burned with the memory of betrayal. And they swore to hunt down those who spilled the blood of kin.
Beside them came the Gigantes, giants crowned with serpents, their steps shaking mountains with every stride. And last the Meliae, nymphs of the ash tree, quiet and watchful, keepers of a future yet to unfold. But the sea held its own secret. Where the severed flesh sank into the deep, the waters began to swirl. White foam gathered, luminous, like moonlight trapped in the tide. And from that foam, rising as though she had always existed, came a figure unlike any before seen or imagined. Aphrodite. She did not crawl, nor stumble, nor weep as the newly born often do. She rose, fully formed, grace incarnate, the curve of her body echoing the rhythm of tides. The sea itself carried her to shore, laying her gently upon the sands of Cyprus, as though presenting a treasure to the world. Her eyes opened, calm and ancient. From her the scent of blooming orchards filled the air. Seashells shone brighter at her feet, and though born of violence, no stain of that act touched her. She was beauty without mercy, longing without boundary, the sweet ache of desire and the ruin it leaves behind. Kings would fall for her, poets would worship her, wars would burn because of her name, and the world from that moment on would never again be free from love. But Gaea's vengeance did not end with blood. From the droplets that fell upon the earth sprang other beings, the Furies cloaked in shadow and vengeance, who would haunt oath-breakers and kinslayers until the end of days. The giants who in time would rise up against the gods themselves, and the Meliae, nymphs of the ash trees, guardians of the wild and the old ways. Uranus, wounded and dethroned, vanished into the heavens, leaving the world to his children. Before he fled, it is said he spoke a final curse, one that would ring through time like a bell. Just as I was overthrown by my son, so too shall he be overthrown by his own. It was not a prophecy he invented, but a truth Gaea had already whispered, and Cronus heard it well. He took the sky throne and wrapped himself in power, but from the moment he grasped it, he began to fear what his father had warned. Thus ended the reign of Uranus, the first king of the cosmos, and began the age of the Titans. Yet already in the womb of time, the next storm was stirring. With Uranus cast down, and the sky no longer pressed so tightly upon the earth, the world breathed anew. The Titans, freed from their father's yoke, now stood tall beneath the heavens, and Cronus, the youngest and most cunning among them, claimed dominion over all. He was not a god of chaos or cruelty, as his father had been in the end, but he ruled with a cautious and suspicious heart. The sickle he had used to bring down Uranus remained hidden, buried in the earth or cast into the sea. Its blade remembered but unseen, like a secret sin.
Cronus had delivered his mother from torment and his siblings from imprisonment.
Yet from the very moment he sat the throne of the cosmos, his mind was troubled by the prophecy that had driven him to rebellion. The words of his dying father echoed through him like a second heartbeat, that he too would be cast down by his own child. So Cronus took a wife, as kings must. He chose Rhea, his sister, a tightness of gentle strength and deep wisdom, though her name would one day be spoken in the same breath as pain, Ogda. They ruled through a time that later poets would remember as a golden age, a time when mortals, newly created, lived in peace, free from suffering, untouched by winter or war, and the fruits of the earth ripened without need for toil. It was an age before kings had armies, before men built walls or worshipped temples, when justice moved unseen among humankind and no one knocked their doors. But such peace as the world has always known does not last.
In time, Rhea began to bear children, and as each was born, Cronus remembered his father's curse. He did not hesitate. The moment Rhea placed each newborn in his arms, first Hestia, then Deida, then Hea, Hades and Poseidon, he opened wide his jaws and swallowed them whole. Not a trace was left, not a cry, not a cradle, only the knowledge that they were gone, hidden within their father's belly, like seeds in winter soil. He told Rhea it was necessary, that he would not suffer the same fate as Uranus, that the throne must be protected. Rhea, though proud and strong, was powerless against him. She wept, but her tears changed nothing. 5 times she gave birth, and 5 times she lost her children to the hunger of her husband's fear. But the 6th time, she resolved to act. When she felt the child stir in her womb, she did not go to Kronos. She fled instead to the island of Crete, where the mountains met the sky, and deep caves opened beneath the earth. There, hidden among shepherds and nymphs, she gave birth to her youngest son, Zeus. And from the moment of his birth, Rhea knew he was different. His cries shook the trees, his eyes opened before his first breath, and when he grasped her finger, he held it with the strength of fate itself. To deceive Cronus, Rhea wrapped a stone in swaddling cloth and presented it to him with trembling hands. He swallowed it greedily, thinking the danger had passed, but beneath Mount Ida, the infant Zeus was nursed in secret. He was guarded by the Curetes, warriors who danced and clashed their shields to drown out the sound of his cries, and fed by the goat Amalpha, whose milk gave him strength beyond measure. And as Zeus grew, so did the storm that would one day break the world. Yet for now, the age of Cronus held. The sky was high, the earth was green, and the Titans ruled from their thrones, oblivious to the gathering wind. But deep within Cronus, 5 children stirred in the dark, and far to the west, a child born in secrecy watched the stars and waited. In the hidden folds of Mount Ida, where the air was thin and the wind whispered ancient names through stone and pine, Zeus grew to manhood. Raised in secret, far from his father's gaze, he learned of the world, not through books or scrolls, but from the silence of the high peaks, the rustling of leaves and the cautious stories murmured by his guardians in firelight. He drank the milk of the divine goat Amala, who had nourished him from birth and from her broken horn. Torn by accident or omen was born the cornucopia, symbol of endless bounty. When Amala died, Zeus hung her hide among the stars in her honor, and her memory became part of the sky he would one day command. But he was not born to stargazing or solitude. The blood in his veins was thick with prophecy, and his bones carried the weight of rebellion. As he came of age, Kia herself began to stir. She remembered the betrayal of Cronus, the pain of her imprisoned sons, the 100-handed ones, and the Cyclops buried deep in Tartarus. Her vengeance had not ended with Uranus. It had only been delayed. With words as old as stone, she whispered truth into Zeus's dreams, and in his waking hours, she guided his steps. First, she led him to Metis, the tightness of wisdom, whose counsel was shrewd and whose loyalty leaned toward the future. With Metis' aid, Zeus fashioned a plan. To strike against Cronus, a king of Titans in time, would require more than strength. It would demand cunning. Zeus returned in disguise to the house of his father, and there, with Metis's craft, he offered Cronus a potion laced in wine, bittersweet and thick as honey. The drink stirred the old Titan's gut, and at last, with a shudder and a groan, Cronus vomited forth the children he had swallowed long ago. They came not as infants, but full grown and gleaming, clad in the strength of gods, reborn into a world already poised for war. First Hestia, hearth and flame, then Deida, goddess of the grain, then regal Hera, proud and sharp-eyed, then Hades, lord of the dead, and at last Poseidon, master of the deep. The 6 siblings stood together for the first time as one, and looked to the throne that had cast them into darkness. They would not forget. But Cronus was not without allies. The Titans rallied to him, his brothers and sisters gathering at top Mount Orus, the old seat of power in the south. Oianis remained apart, too old or too wise for blood feuds. But the others, Cois, Crius, Hyperion, Apotus, took up arms. So began the war the poets called Titanomachy, the clash of Titans and Olympians, a war that tore across the heavens and split the earth to its core. For 10 years the battle raged without end. The sky darkened with storm and smoke. Thunder and fire echoed across the mountains, and the world below, still young and silent, watched in dread as its masters fought for the right to rule. The Titans held Orus, tall and time-worn, while Zeus and his kin made their stand upon Mount Olympus, a peak still unscarred by war. The battles were terrible and unrelenting. Lightning tore open the skies and tidal waves swallowed islands whole. Volcanoes bled fire, and winds howled like wolves. At times the war seemed endless, neither side able to land the final blow. But Gaia, ever watchful, knew that the balance could not tip without what had been long buried. She counseled Zeus once more. If he were to win, he must descend into Tartarus and free his monstrous uncles, the Cyclops and the Hecatoncheires, whom Cronus had kept locked in chains out of fear. With his siblings beside him, Zeus broke the gates of the underworld and released the imprisoned powers. The Cyclopes, grateful and eager, gifted Zeus his greatest weapons, the thunderbolt, the symbol of sky and storm. To Poseidon they gave the trident, with which he would command the seas, and to Hades a helm of darkness that would make him unseen. The Hecatonians, giants with 100 hands, joined the fight at last, hurling mountains like stones, and battering the Titans with the fury of ancient things unbound. With these allies the tide turned. The Olympians pressed forward with a fury no Titan could match. Cronus, proud and unyielding, fought to the last. But the prophecy as always unfolded without mercy. The Titans fell. One by one they were driven down, cast from the high places of the earth. Zeus did not slay them. He imprisoned them, as his father had done before. Deep into Tartarus they were hurled, bound in chains forged by the 100-handed ones, behind bronze gates that would never rust or break. Only a few escaped that fate, Prometheus and Epimetheus, who had sided with the gods, and Tees, who foresaw the justice of their rule. So ended the reign of the Titans. The sky cleared, and the world, scarred by fire and war, began to heal. The throne passed to Zeus, not by birthright, but by might and wisdom, and fate fulfilled. Yet even as he claimed the heavens, the shadow of Cronus's curse lingered behind him, like the echo of an old song. For power once seized must always be watched,
and no ruler, god or mortal, sit secure forever. When the war was over, and the world lay quiet beneath the sky once more, the victors stood amidst the rubble of creation. The Titans were chained in the depths of Tartarus, their groans swallowed by that black abyss from which no echo returned. The old order had been broken, but with the storm of war ended, the gods faced a new challenge, perhaps greater than any battle to rule. For conquest may be won with fire and fury, but rule demands judgment, patience, and division.
The world was wide and wild, and filled with powers, both known and yet unnamed. It could not be held by one alone. Zeus, eldest among the gods, now born again, stood at the center of this new age. Though not the firstborn, he was first in might, first in cunning, and first to move when action was demanded. But the old laws carved not on stone, but into the bones of the cosmos itself, did not grant him sole dominion. He had two brothers, both tempered by war and made strong in their own right. Poseidon, who had driven the sea to foam in his wrath, and Hades, who had worn the helm of darkness and moved unseen through battlefield and cavern alike. They too had shed blood, taken risks, and suffered loss. The throne of the cosmos could not belong to Zeus alone, lest the seeds of war be sown anew, this time among brothers. And so the three gathered, Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, and cast lots to divide the realms of the world. Not through bickering or force, but by fate itself did the dice fall. This was no child's game. The casting of lots was sacred, guided by the same power that had spoken through Gaia's whispers and shaped the course of the Titanomachy. They threw the bones and waited. When they landed, the world was drawn into three great dominions. To Zeus fell the sky, the broad heavens, the air between stars and peaks. He became Lord of thunder and rain, master of storm and cloud, and the undisputed king of Olympus. His voice would echo in thunderclaps. His fury would blaze in lightning, and the eagle became his herald, soaring high above all. To Poseidon fell the sea, deep and restless, full of mystery and monsters. He took the oceans, the rivers, and every spring that bubbled from the earth. With his trident he could shatter cliffs and stir the tides to rage or calm. Beneath the waves he built a palace of coral and gold. And there he ruled, not only over fish and current, but over creatures older than time, sea serpents, leviathans, and things whose names had never been spoken aloud. To Hades fell the underworld, the land of the dead. It was not a prize most would have chosen, but Hades took it with quiet resolve. He ruled the shadowed realm with stern dignity, his kingdom hidden beneath the earth, where the sun did not shine. There he became master of the shades, the judge of mortal souls, and guardian of wealth hidden in the deeps, gems, metals, and secrets lost to time. Though men feared his name and whispered it only when necessary, Hades kept the balance between life and death, and it was said he never once broke the laws he was sworn to uphold. The earth itself, Gaia's own flesh, was left as a common realm shared by all. The mountains belonged to no one. The fields were roamed by mortals and spirits alike, and the forests grew wild under no single banner. It was a realm in between where gods might walk and mortals might see them, but it was also where ambition brewed and where fate would continue to work its quiet will. Thus the world was ordered, sky, sea, and underworld. The three brothers, now kings in their own realms, swore not to war among themselves, lest the world break anew. They built their thrones and gathered their followers. On Mount Olympus, high above the clouds, Zeus called the gods to council. There, beside him stood his sisters, Hera, proud and sharp as winter ice, Deida, whose steps awaken spring, and Hestia, ever burning at the hearth of every home. And others came, new and old, Athena, born from wisdom in war, Apollo, golden and far-seeing, Artemis, silent and swift, Eris, bloody-handed, Hermes, fleet of foot and mind, Iced, limping but brilliant, and Aphrodite, whose smile could unravel kings. It was the beginning of a new age, the age of Olympus. But though the thrones had been set and the realms divided, the world would not stay still for long. The gods, for all their power, were not immune to pride, nor love, nor rage. And the mortals who now began to rise across the lands would bring their own stories, their own wars, and their own share of sorrow. The heavens had been won, but peace is never simple when gods sit the throne. When the smoke of war faded and the world was cast once more in sunlight, Mount Olympus became the seat of a new and glittering court. The Titans had ruled from Mount Orus in the south, harsh, ancient, and wrapped in storm. But Olympus in the north stood higher still, its summit crowned in cloud and crowned in myth. The mountain was not merely a place but a threshold, a place where sky met stone, where the mortal world ended and the divine began. It was here that Zeus, having claimed the heavens by fate and force, gathered the new pantheon of gods.
The Olympian court did not mirror mortal kingdoms.
There were no brick-paved roads leading to its gates, no heralds announcing guests, no armies stationed at its base. The gods needed no walls to guard them. The air itself served as their boundary, a veil too high for mortal breath. Olympus was said to have no storms, no snow, no decay. Its halls were of marble and cloud, its ceilings vaulted with starlight, and its corridors stretched wide enough for wind to wander freely. Here the gods walked not as shadows or omens, but in full form, radiant, terrible, and more alive than anything that walked the earth below. At the summit of Olympus stood Zeus, king of gods and men, seated upon a throne of thunder. He ruled not by brute strength alone, though his power was unmatched, but by the will of fate and the long memory of war. His voice carried like distant thunder, his eyes saw beyond clouds and time, and in his hand he carried the thunderbolt, the Cyclops' gift, the symbol of judgment, swift and final. But even he did not rule alone. Around him stood the others, each a pillar in a new order of the world. Hera sat beside him, not merely as wife, but as queen, sovereign in her own right. She was the goddess of marriage, of queenship and childbirth, and the silent fury of a woman wronged. Proud and unyielding, Hera remembered every slight, and a jealousy would one day shape the fates of gods and mortals alike. A crown was not one given but earned, forged in the fires of betrayal, and bound by the sacred oaths of Olympus. Deita came next, the goddess of grain and growth. Where her feet touched the earth, the soil softened and seed stirred. Her presence brought harvest and plenty, and without her, the fields grew barren. She did not sit high among the thunder and marble, but walked often in the world below, watching over the ploughmen and mothers who whispered her name at dawn. She was older than most, quieter than many, but none doubted her power. Then there was Hestia, goddess of the hearth, the firstborn of Cronus and Rhea, and the last to be freed from her father's belly. She asked for no temple, no grand myths, no wars or lovers. She tended the eternal flame in the center of Olympus and watched over every home and hearth on earth. Her power was gentle but ever present for as long as fire burned in a household. Hestia lived there too. The younger gods came in time, some born in Olympus, others delivered by strange means. Athena was first among them, born not of womb but of wisdom. When Zeus swallowed Matis, fearing her unborn child would surpass him, he thought the matter ended. But Matis did not die. She lived within him, whispering, scheming, crafting knowledge in the dark. One day Zeus groaned in agony, and with a blow to his skull, Athena sprang forth, fully grown, clad in bronze, spear in hand. Her eyes clear and sharp as flint, she became goddess of wisdom, strategy, and just war, a virgin warrior with no patience for frivolity. Apollo and Artemis came next, twins born of Leto, a titaness who wandered long and weary to find a place to give birth. No land dared offer her sanctuary, for Hera's wrath was vast and vengeful. At last the floating island of Das accepted her, and there she bore her children. Apollo, golden-haired and bright, became the god of light, prophecy, music, and healing. His sister, Artemis, swift and silver, was goddess of the hunt, of wild things and moonlight. Together they marked a new generation of gods, restless, radiant, and intimately tied to the mortal world. Then came Ares, god of war and slaughter, son of Zeus and Hera, but beloved by neither. He was strength without discipline, rage without cause, and though his name was feared, he was not often honored. War followed him like a shadow, and he gloried in its chaos, but he was often bested by cunning and wisdom. His opposite was Histes, the lame god of the forge, master of craft and flame. Born of Hera alone, or thrown from Olympus by Zeus, both tales are told. He found solace in metal, building wonders with hand-like fire. From his hands came armor, palaces, and automatons. Though limping and twisted, he was among the most indispensable of the gods. Aphrodite, goddess of beauty and desire, arrived, not by birth, but by fall. Born of Uranus' severed flesh cast into the sea. He rose from the surf in Cyprus, as beautiful as she was dangerous. Love, lust, jealousy, and ruin followed her wherever she went. Even Zeus could not command her fully. She bound gods and mortals alike with a glance, and though she smiled often, it was never without consequence. Hermes, the trickster and herald, came last of this early court. Son of Zeus and the nymph Maya, he moved swiftly between worlds, winged sandals at his feet and a mischievous grin on his lips. He stole Apollo's cattle on the day of his birth, sang a song to cover the left, and made himself indispensable before the war. He became the messenger of the gods, god of souls, patron of thieves and travelers. Where Hermes went, borders dissolved. This was the Olympian court, gathering not of saints but of gods. Raw, florid, radiant and vast, and they quarreled as siblings do, took sides in mortal fights, fell in love, betrayed each other, waged petty rivalries, and enacted divine justice. But above all, they watched the world grow and shaped into the the age of Titans was gone, but in its place came a new of stories of gods who walked on the world. Was built from their deeds, changed by the means of the world, and it had its rules now, pieces of its But there were no hands to turn the sword, no voices to sing to the stars, no fire to warm the night. It was Prometheus, a titan of the old blood, who first imagined the shape of man. He was no friend to Cronus,
nor was he ever counted among those chained in Tartarus. During the War of the Titans, Prometheus had sided with Zeus, not out of love or loyalty but out of foresight, for he bore the gift of prophecy, and he knew which way the storm would break. Prometheus's name meant forethought, and it suited him. He was brother to Epimetheus, whose name meant afterthought, and never was a pair of brothers more different.
When Epimetheus acted in haste and repented in leisure, Prometheus saw farther, thought longer, and questioned the justice of every decree, even those issued by the king of the gods himself. He walked the line between Titan and Olympian, old world and new, a creature of reason in a cosmos ruled by passion and power. It was he who first shaped mankind. Some say he sculpted them from clay beside the banks of a river, his fingers smoothing mud into limbs, his breath giving them life. Others claim he molded them in the image of the gods, upright and thoughtful, gifted with the spark of invention. But however it happened, the first men were made, and they were weak, soft of skin, slow of foot, clawless, fangless, and lacking in both fur and fire. They were naked beneath the sky, trembling in winter, defenseless against the beasts of the world. Prometheus looked upon them and pointed. He went to Olympus and asked, "Would that man be given a gift? Something to help them survive, something to raise them above the level of their enemies." But Zeus refused. He saw mortals not mortals. The god could not only just seize this time, with fire came warmth, safety, cooking, metal, language, craft. Humanity, once cold and voiceless, began to build. And with fire came defiance, too. Zeus was not long in discovering the theft. His fury was terrible. To punish mankind, he commissioned the gods to create a gift, though it was a curse in the skies. Her fisters shaped her from clay, a woman of perfect beauty. Aphrodite gave her charm, Hermes gave her cunning, and Athena clothed her in silver raiment. Her name was Pandora, meaning all gifted, and she was given a sealed jar, mistranslated in later ages as a box containing the sorrows of the world: disease, toil, grief, madness, envy, and death itself. Epimetheus, ever the fool, took her into his home despite Prometheus's warnings. And when Pandora, driven by curiosity, the final gift of the gods, opened the jar, the evil spilled out into the world, like smoke from a fire too long confined. Mankind, who had known peace in their brief golden youth, now found themselves hunted by fate. Hunger gnawed at their bellies, war bled them dry, age stooped their backs. Only hope remained inside the jar,
Some say by accident, others say by design, a flickering light amid the gloom. But Prometheus's punishment had not yet come. For the crime of defying Olympus, Zeus ordered him chained to a mountain at the edge of the world. Some say the Caucasus, others say a place lost in myth. There he was bound in adamantine chains, unbreakable and eternal. Each day an eagle born of Typhon, or sent by Zeus, would descend and feast upon his liver. Each night he would go back, and each morning the torment would begin again. He was immortal, and so the suffering could not kill him. He endured it for generations, long after kingdoms rose and fell, long after men forgot the gods who made them. And yet, even in chains, Prometheus did not regret. He knew a secret, a truth Zeus feared above all, that one day the king of the gods would fall, not by blade or armor, but by his own sin. It was this knowledge that protected him. Zeus struggled when he first uncovered Poseidon stirred the seas. It was the deeds of mortals that filled the earth with both beauty and sorrow. The poets who lived after would look back on this long, winding journey and see not one mankind, but many, each born into its own era, marked by the blessings and punishments of the gods.
It was Hesi, the Boeotian farmer and poet, who first set these ages into words, dividing the long march of human existence into 5 distinct epochs: gold, silver, bronze, heroic, and iron. Each was less than the one before, save one. In the beginning there was the Golden Age, and it was unlike any time that followed. It came during the reign of Cronus, before the gods had learned to fear rebellion, and before the earth bore the weight of iron or war. In those days men lived like gods themselves, free from pain, untouched by age, and unburdened by toil. The earth gave forth her bounty without coaxing, offering harvests in every season. There was no need for laws or swords, no need for kings or coins. These early mortals knew no hunger, no sickness, no grief. When their time came, they did not wither or suffer, but died as if falling into sleep, their spirits becoming guardians, pure and watchful, wandering the world as kindly divinities, protectors of justice and peace. Theirs was a life of harmony, and theirs was the closest any mortal had ever come to evil. But the Golden Age passed, as all golden things do. With the fall of Cronus and the rise of Zeus, the Silver Age died, a time of beauty dimmed and souls less noble. These mortals grew tall and strong, living long lives, but they lacked the wisdom and restraint of the Golden Age. And when in childhood they were to go into the body, to refuse to honor
only driven by the rhythm of war drums and the clash of arms. They built no cities, wrote no poems, carved no statues. When they died, they left little behind but shattered swords and empty fields. Even the gods did not mourn their passing. They sank into Hades without echo or prayer. Yet not all decline is steady. From the blood and smoke of the Bronze Age rose a brief and brilliant light, the heroic age, a time unlike any other. It was not part of the descent, but an interlude of glory before the fall. These mortals were greater than those who came before or after. They were the demigods, the sons and daughters of gods and men.
They built cities, sailed seas, and carved their names into the memory of the world. This was the age of Perseus and Heracles, of Theseus and Atalanta, of Jason and the Argonauts, of Hector and Achilles and Odysseus. They fought great wars against monsters, against foreign kings, and finally against each other at Troy. Many died young, and many more died forgotten, but their stories linger, carried in song and stone, in epics and prayers. Some were granted a place in the Isles of the Blessed, far beyond ocean's edge, where heroes dwell in peace and sunlight forever. The heroic age did not last, but while it burned, it lit the world. And then came the age that Hesiod called his own, the Iron Age, where we still dwell. This is a time of sorrow and toil, a world grown old and heavy. Men now labor from dawn to dusk, planting seeds in bitter soil, raising children amid war and famine, growing old with pain and fear.
In the Iron Age, bonds break easily between friends, between kin, between guest and host. Justice, once tall and golden, now walks with her eyes averted. Lies are many, oaths are cheap, and the gods, if they still watch, do so with silence. In this age, mortals build towers and forget their ancestors. They chase gold and power and cut down the forests that fed them. It is an age of struggle, and it is said that one day even this will pass. One day, the gods will turn their backs entirely. One day, Zeus will cast down his thunderbolt, and humankind will vanish like smoke in the wind. But for all that, Iron Age endures. Men still build, still hope, still tell stories of the time when mortals were golden, gods walked in the perhaps they were fragile, still in the Zeus Among the first and greatest of them was Perseus, slayer of monsters, founder of dynasties, and by blood and deed, the forerunner of all who would wear a hero's crown. Perseus' tale begins not in battle, but in prophecy and fear. His mother, Dene, was a princess of Argos, daughter to King Acreus. The king, like all kings of that age, feared what he could not control. An oracle warned him that his daughter would bear a son destined to kill him. Such prophecies in myth as in life cannot be bribed or reasoned with. So, Acreus did what kings so often do when faced with the truth they fear. He sought to destroy the cause. He locked Denia in a tower of bronze beneath the earth, a room sealed against time and men alike. But the gods, as they often did, laughed at mortal precautions. Zeus, in the form of golden rain, slipped through cracks no wall could keep, and fell upon Dan in her solitude, From that union Perseus was conceived. When Acreus discovered the child, he dared not spill royal blood directly, for even tyrants fear the wrath of the gods. Instead, he placed Danae and her infant son into a wooden chest and cast them into the sea, trusting Poseidon or chance to drown them. But the sea is as fickle as fate. The chest did not sink, but drifted across the wine-dark waves to the island of Seraphim, where a humble fisherman named Dictys drew the shore. He took them in, raised Perseus as his own, and in time it made him tall and strong, the bearer of kings in the eyes of storms. But peace is never long coming to those who carry destiny. The ruler of Seraphim, and Polyctus, took notice of Danae's beauty and desire. Perseus stood before the gods, and loved the fire, and the cold, unable to strike the sun without the possession of Poseidon, whose cunning was destruction. He announced the best man, Zeus and Hera, and followed the Perseus, without gold or person, boasted that he would instead be guilty. And humble Medusa, all from Hera, his gaze and appreciated his state. The task was clear, and he made his name. No man was so producing by the overtaken. He was in a true golden system, flying with virtuous synchronization, hideous and weak, so he appeared in sleep, and on his couch. Only Medusa was left, the sister of Athena, who should be approached by his power. The gods who watched the world from themselves, prayed that he sleep. Medusa had once been a maiden in a temple, until Poseidon's violence and pride had defiled it. Lent her shield to the young hero. It was polished like a mirror, and in its reflection one could look upon a Gorgon without meeting her gaze. Hermes, swift and shrewd, gave him a curved sword and winged sandals to fly, and directed him to the Graea, the Grey Sisters, who shared the single eye between them and knew the secret path to the Gorgon's lair. Perseus, through wit and will, stole their eye and bargained for the truth. They told him of the nymphs who kept the sacred items he would need, the helm of Hades, which made its wearer invisible, Arquebuses, a magical sack to contain the Gorgon's head, and knowledge of the place being ocean's edge, where night never lifts, and the Gorgons sleep among ancient stone. Armed with these divine gifts, Perseus flew over sea and desert until he reached the ends of the earth. He found them sleeping, Medusa and her sister, curled in a shadowed grove, ringed by the statues of those who had come before. Perseus dared not look directly, and so with Athena's shield held before him, he walked backward, step by cautious step, until he stood over the sleeping Gorgon. With one swift stroke, he severed a limb, and from the blood sprang Pegasus, the winged bird, Chrysa, the warrior with a golden blade, children of Poseidon, born in death. As Medusa's sisters screamed and clawed the air, Perseus vanished into mist, hidden by the helm of darkness. The deed was done. He returned by the long road, his prize heavy in the sack, its power undiminished. On the way he passed the shores of Ethiopia, where the sea god had sent a monster to punish King Cepheus and Queen Cassiopeia for their vanity. Their daughter Andromeda had been chained to a rock as sacrifice. Perseus, beholding her beauty and innocence, slew her beast, turned into stone with the Gorgon's head, and claimed her as his bride. She would follow him westward, becoming the mother of his life. When at last he returned to Seraphim, he looked down, scarfed in his tail. So Perseus reached into the sack and withdrew the scepter. The king and his court returned to stone where they stood.
carried the weight of fate with dignity. He would not live forever, but his name would. For from his blood would come Heracles. And from Heracles, the next chapter in the story of the gods and men. If Perseus was the first great hero, Heracles was the mightiest. His name, like thunder over distant mountains, carried weight across every land touched by Hellenic breath. He was not merely strong, but larger than life itself, straddling the border between man and god, joy and grief, triumph and tragedy. He was the great-grandson of Perseus, the son of Argos, and the son of Zeus. And though the gods would bless him with strength, they would curse him with suffering. His birth was itself a trick of time. Zeus, ever lustful, desired Alcmene, wife of the Theban general Amphitryon, disguised as her husband. The king of gods lay with her, extending a single night into threefold night. From that union came Heracles, and from Amphitryon a twin, lifeless, mortal, without best. Hera, as always, watched from her throne with a cold and bitter eye. She knew her husband's ways, and she knew too well the threat that this child, half god though he was, might one day pose to her own dominion. Even in the cradle, Heracles bore the mark of the divine. Hera, seeking to destroy him early, sent two serpents into the nursery to strangle the baby. But the child reached out with plump hands and throttled them both, one in each fist, before he reached its call. From that moment, his fame began to grow. As a youth, he trained in all the arts befitting warrior, music, archery, wrestling, and fairy fighting. But there was something wild, the restlessness of soul, and unwind and fear of the king. Lesser in strength, but greater in fate. Only through servitude, through suffering, could Heracles earn redemption. Thus began the 12 labors, deeds so great and terrible that even the gods took notice. The first labor was to slay the Nemean lion, a beast whose golden hide could not be pierced by mortal weapons. Heracles cornered it in its cave and strangled it with his bare hands. He flayed the beast using its own claw and wore the skin as armor thereafter, a second hide to shield him from the world. The second was the Lana Hydra, a serpent with 9 heads, 2 of which would grow back for everyone severed. Heracles battled it in the swamps, aided by his nephew, Iolaus, who cauterized the stumps as they were cut. From the last head, immortal and venomous, Heracles harvested its ichor and dipped his arrows in it, making them deadly even to gods. The third labor was the capture of the Serenian heart, a golden horned deer sacred to Artemis. Heracles chased it for a year across hills and rivers before gently capturing it alive, earning the goddess's reluctant approval. The fourth labor led him to the Arabian bull, a monstrous beast of the water, and wrestled it in the snow-covered heights of Acadia, and dragged it back to Terran's bound chains laughing as Eurystheus ate the entire thousands of cattle untouched by broom or shovel for decades. Heracles, ever the problem solver, routed rivers to wash away the filth in a single day. The sixth was to drive away the stylen birds, man-eating creatures with bronze beaks and razor-feathered wings. With the aid of Athena's rattle, he startled them into flight and shot them down from the sky. The seventh labor took him far west to capture the Cretan bull, a beast of divine origin that had fathered the Minotaur. Heracles wrestled it and brought it back alive, while the bull's gaze burned with madness and sea-salt fury. The eighth labor sent him north to Thrace, where he tamed the mares of Diomedes, flesh-eating horses that gnashed their teeth for human meat. He fed it land animals, going pasture to the end, and the beasts grew docile. The ninth labor required diplomacy and blood. Heracles was sent to retrieve the river Queen of the Amazons. Though the queen agreed to gift it peacefully, Athena spread rumors among the royal women. Heracles slew the party and escaped with the land. The tenth led to the edge of the water, where he stole the temple of the giant. Two more were required. The 11th was to steal the golden apples of the Hesperides, guarded by nymphs and a dragon, coiled around the tree's base. Heracles tricked Atlas, the sky-bearer, into retrieving the apples while he held the heavens. When Atlas tried to leave him the burden, Heracles asked for a moment to adjust his cloak and took back the sky while fleeing with the fruit. The 12th and final labor was the most harrowing, to descend into Hades itself and bring back Cerberus, the three-headed hound. Armed with nothing but his strength, Heracles journeyed to the underworld, presented himself before Hades, and with the god's grim permission, wrestled Cerberus into submission, and led the beast, snarling and frothing, into the land of the living. With that final labor, his redemption was won. Yet Heracles' life was not yet at peace. He fought more battles, took new wives, and fathered many children. But Hera's hatred endured. In the end, it was not blade or monster that killed him, but the poisoned blood of the centaur Nessus, smeared upon a tunic gifted by his wife, Daenerys, who believed it a love charm. As the poison burned through his flesh, Heracles built his own pool upon mountaintop. No mortal dared light it, until Philoctetes, a simple shepherd, stepped forward. For that he was given the hero's bow. Heracles was consumed by flame, but in death he was reborn. Zeus lifted him to Olympus, where he was granted immortality, and married to Hera, goddess of youth. He became not just a hero, but a god. His labors, born of grief and guilt, became the very measure of heroism. When others were remembered in stone, Heracles was remembered in shrines, and
from Athens in the city of Troy, unaware of the great blood in his veins. Before leaving, Aegis had hidden a sword and sandals beneath a heavy stone, telling Ethro that, when the boy was strong enough to lift the stone, he would be ready to claim his birthright. In time, Theseus grew tall and sharp-eyed, restless in his limbs and mind. At 16, he moved the stone with a grunt and a grin and took up his father's tokens. Many would have traveled the easy road to Athens by sea, but Theseus chose the land route, the longer, more perilous way, for he believed that true kingship must be earned, not inherited. And so began the 6 labors of Theseus, not vast or godlike Heracles' trials, but earthy and intimate, each a monster of the road, a terror to the common man. He defeated Pericles the Clubbearer, taking his weapon as a symbol. He slew sinners who tied travelers to bent pine trees and tore them in two. He pushed Siren from the cliffs into the sea, ending the reign of a man who forced passers-by to wash his feet and kick them to their death. He overcame Tertian the wrestler by outmatching brute force with technique, and Procrustes, who made beds fit travelers by stretching or cutting them, found his own death in the same iron frame. Theseus did not just survive, he cleaned the land as he passed through it, paving the way for Athens itself to rise.
When he arrived in Athens, King Agus did not recognize him. The Queen Medea, now wife to Agus, and still seething with old sorceries, saw the threat in the boy, and urged the king to poison him. But Theseus presented the sword and sandals, and at the last moment Agus cast the cup aside, embracing his son before the queen. Joy, of course, never lingered long on this. Trouble was already stirring in the east. For years, Athens had suffered under a bitter tribute. In a war with the island of Crete, Athens had been defeated. And as punishment, King Minos devoted 7 young men and 7 maidens by sent to Zeus to feed the Minotaur. The monstrous half-man, full of lust and vengeance, kept in a twisted labyrinth beneath the palace at Olympus. This creature had been born from Minos' pride. Poseidon sent a bull from the sea where Minos was meant to sacrifice him, but instead he kept it for himself. In punishment, the gods cursed his wife and the fallen of Hercules, telling him not to tribute to the Minotaur, then in shame, sealed away his desire for the gods. Before departure, he promised his father that if he succeeded, he would return white sails upon his ship. If he failed, the sails would remain black. Upon arrival in Crete, fate turned again. Ariadne, daughter of Minos and half-sister to the Minotaur, saw Theseus and loved him. She gave him a gift, a ball of thread, a clue, and the secret to the labyrinth's winding paths. That night, Theseus entered the maze. In its dark coils, where stone turned endlessly into stone, he found the beast. They fought without words, one prince against one nightmare. Theseus, armed with skill and a sharpened blade, struck the creature down, then followed the thread back into the light. He fled with Ariadne and the freed Athenians sailing into the Aegean. Yet love in Greek stories is never simple. On the island of Naxos, Theseus abandoned Ariadne. Some say Dionys claimed her for his own.
Others say Theseus feared what a Cretan bride might mean for an Athenian throne. She woke alone and wept beneath unfamiliar stars. Theseus continued home, but in his sorrow or forgetfulness, he failed to change the sail. From the cliffs of Athens, King Aias saw black on the horizon and believed his son dead. Grief-stricken, he leapt into the sea, which still bears his name, the Aegean. Now King Theseus did not reign. He unified Attica, the region around Athens, binding its villages into one city-state. He established festivals and games, temple and law. He was a hero of governance as much as of command. He ventured again and again into it, fighting alongside symbolized the strength of the body. Theseus embodied the strength of the palace, the city, the law, the people, bound by more than blood. Athens would rise on its shoulders, and though it would worship Athena, it would remember the king who built its bones. Long before Troy burned, and long after the Titans fell, there came a voyage unlike any other, a quest that crossed continents and gods, bound heroes into brotherhood, and ended in betrayal and exile. It was a tale of dragons and oaths, of kings usurped and thrones reclaimed. And at the center of it all was Jason, a prince exiled in childhood. A hero groomed not by war or prophecy, but by the long, slow fire of vengeance. His tale began in Iolcus, a coastal kingdom in Thessalon. Jason's father had been usurped by his own brother, Peleus, a man who worshipped no law but power. Fearing the boy who might one day rise against him, Peleus sought to kill Jason and burn him. But Aeson, forewarned, sent the infant away, smuggled from court and raised in secret by the wise centaur Chiron, who had trained Achilles, Asclepius, and other sons of Greece. Jason grew strong in the wild, fed on honey and knowledge, his limbs hardened by hunting, his mind by songs of kings who had fallen and risen again. Years passed. Jason returned to a man clad in a single sandal, for as he crossed the river Anaris, he had lost one in the muddy current while carrying an old woman across. The woman, of course, was Hera, in disguise, testing the young hero. When he entered the city, Peleus saw the one-sandaled stranger and turned pale. For the oracle had once warned him, beware the man who comes with no shoe. Jason, bold but not foolish, did not draw a sword or raise a cry. He spoke plainly. He was Aeneas' son, the rightful heir. Peleus, too shrewd to strike openly, feigned welcome north wind, 50 heroes in all. Together they boarded a ship named Argo, built by Argus under Athena's guidance. In its prow, she set a piece of sacred oak from Dodona, a timber that could speak in prophecy. The ship itself was a character in the tale, whispering warnings and guiding fate. They sailed east, past shores and tempests into legend.
Their first trials were not of monsters, but of men. On Lemnos they met a land ruled by women who had slain all their husbands. There Jason lay with Hypsipyle, queen of the isle, and begot sons he would never see grown. In Thrace they encountered the blind seer Phineus. Tormented by the harpies, who fouled his food, the winged boards drove the creatures off, and in Phineus's prophecy, a path through the deadly clashing rocks, two cliffs that slammed shut like jaws upon any who tried to pass. At Phineus's advice they released a dove. It flew through and lost only a single tail feather. The Argo followed at full speed and the rocks caught her stern, but just barely. From then on the passage remained still. The sea, it seemed, respected those who dared. At last they reached Colchis, a land of fire and iron. King Aotes did not kill them on sight. Jason was a stranger, and in that ancient world strangers were sacred, but Aotes agreed to be the priest, and Jason completed 2 days. Your fire-breathing wolf, I will build it, so the dragon's tail, and then feed the warriors and rise for the sun. These are not tests of courage, but of impossibility. It would have been the day the gods made for the wind. Arrows that through his girdle, struck me, daughter of Bennett. Refused to yield the crown. Meda, in vengeance, tricked his daughters into cutting him to pieces and boiling him alive, claiming it was a spell of rejuvenation. Horrified, the people rose up. Jason, now tainted by treachery, was exiled. He fled to Corinth, where he and Medea lived for years in uneasy peace. But Jason, ever seeking legitimacy, cast Medea aside and chose a Corinthian princess for marriage. Medea, wronged and vengeful, unleashed a fury no man could endure. She poisoned the bride's gown, burning her to ash, and murdered her own sons by Jason. Then she fled, carried away in a chariot drawn by dragons, a gift from her grandfather, Helios. Jason, broken, returned to Alcus. In his final days, he wandered among ruins, forgotten. One day, resting beneath the Argo, now dry-docked and decaying, a beam broke loose and struck his skull. So passed the great hero, not in battle, not in glory, but in silence, beneath the bones of his body. Yet the tale of Jason endured, for in the quest for the fleet, in the gathering of Hera, in love turned sour and greatness undone, Greece found one of its most enduring myths, the promise and price of ambition. There are few bloodlines in Greek myth more than the royal house of Thebes, sailed for distant thrones. The Theban kings fought their own kin and warred against the past itself. Their legacy is not carved in bronze or sung in triumph, but written in riddles, madness, and murder. Even the city's foundation was steeped in omens and unrest.
These began with a quest. Cadmus, a Phoenician prince and brother to Europa, set out to find a sister after Zeus abducted her in the guise of the White Bull. Unable to recover her, Cadmus sought guidance from the oracle of the Delphi, who told him to abandon the search and instead follow a cow until it made him. There he was to find a city. Obedient, he wandered until the beast collapsed. When Cadmus and his companions were wandering, they met their death at the hands of a serpent sacred to Hera, god of his people. Cadmus slew the serpent himself, and at Athena's bidding sowed its teeth into the soil. From the earth sprang armed warriors, Sparta, as the leader, and turned the world to only fire and rain. These fires became the only families of kings, Cadmus and the slaying of her as a serpent. Fate is not a swift word, it's a slow death. Gift given by the gods is never simple. Beauty is never free, and joy rarely comes without its shadow. So the curse unfolded itself like a dark tapestry, thread by thread, across Cadmus's bloodline. Ino, once gentle and bright as morning tide, felt madness crawl into her mind. The sea that should have comforted, instead devoured. She leapt into the waves with her child, and foam swallowed their names. The ocean remembers, but it does not weep. Autonomy watched her son Actaeon hunt with pride until the day he stumbled upon Artemis bathing. One glance, just one, and the goddess's purity was violated. So Actaeon was remade, not into memory, but into prey. His own hounds, faithful and fierce, tore him apart. Not knowing they feasted upon the master who once fed them. Semele, beloved by Zeus, believed herself chosen by destiny, and she was, but destiny's hand burns. Hera's whisper twisted her heart, and she asked Zeus to reveal himself in his full god-born flame. No mortal flesh can bear such truth. She was consumed to ash. Her unborn child saved only because Zeus sewed him into his own thigh. Dionysus, the twice born. And Agave, poor Agave, was claimed last. Dionysus returned not with love, but with delirium, and Thebes fell under his spell. In a frenzy of sacred madness, Agave mistook her son Pentheus for the beast of the wild. The light sang with drums and laughter as she tore him apart with her own hands, believing herself a huntress, glorious and divine, until dawn came. And dawn always tells the truth. Thus the house of Cadmus, once blessed by God's laws by beauty, became a mirror of beauty that tells the truth. servant, pitying the child, passed him to a shepherd, who in turn delivered him to the king and queen of Corinth, Polybus and Meropa, who were childless, and welcomed the boy as their own.
They named him Oedipus, meaning swollen foot, and never told him the truth of his blood. Oedipus grew into a clever and proud young man, but rumors of his birth reached him. Seeking truth, he journeyed to Delhi, where the oracle gave him the same prophecy once spoken to Leos, that he would kill his father and marry his mother. Horrified, believing Polybus and Merope to be his true parents, Oedipus fled Corinth, unwittingly running toward his fate. On the road at a crossroads near Dallas, he encountered a stranger, old, proud, and imperious. A quarrel broke out over the rite of passage, and in the heat of rage, Oedipus slew the man and his attendants, never knowing that he had just killed his true father, Laius. He continued on to Thebes, which was under siege not by an army, but by the Sphinx, a creature with the body of a lion, wings of an eagle, and the face of a woman. She devoured all who failed to answer her riddle. What walks on four legs in the morning, two at noon, and three in the evening? Oedipus answered without hesitation. Man, the Sphinx defeated, threw herself from a cliff. Thebes rejoiced. The city's deliverer was made king, and in gratitude, he was given the widowed queen as his bride, Jocasta his mother. Years passed. Oedipus ruled well and had 4 children, Idiocles, Palantes, Antigone, and Ismene. But plague fell upon Thebes, and the oracle proclaimed the land was cursed by unpunished blood. Slowly, terribly, the truth unraveled. The old man at the crossroads, the queen's grief, the scarred feet, the servant who survived, and the blind prophet, Tiresias, who named the king as both father and brother, son and husband. Jocasta hanged herself. Oedipus took her brooches and blinded himself, piercing his own eyes. He begged to be exiled, warned that the land is a wretched figure, guided only by Antigone's hand. In the hills near Corinth, he found sanctuary, but at last he found dead, swelling by the air. His grave is secret, but his children did not escape the curse. It was on Palantes, 4 When Palantes was exiled, he raised an army for Marcus, 7 of his Thebes, ordered by the city. The brothers slew each other in single combat at the gates. Thebes survived when his soul was broken. Antigone, the last to carry on, buried her brother despite the queen. For this she was condemned by the the gods sent madness and death in his house as well. Zeus and Juno, his kingship, the tale of Oedipus is not only used to see the city's building, it is a tale of fate, of how man and still once strived to his aims. It is a tragedy, not born of evil, but of ignorance, of a man who sought the truth and was destroyed by it. The house of Thebes, for all its glory, was built upon the bones of serpents and riddles, and no riddle, no matter how cleverly answered, can change the will of the gods. Of all the wars that ever ravaged mortal soil, none would echo louder than the one fought for a woman's face. A war of oaths and pride, of beauty and betrayal, of gods and kings, and the fall of empires. It began not with spears or fire, but with a wedding, one that all the gods were invited to, save for one. Aes, goddess of discord, was not welcome at the marriage of Pallas and Thetis. The sea nymph, fated to bear a son greater than his father. In her fury, Eris cast into the feast a golden apple, inscribed with 3 words that would shatter kingdoms: to the fairest. The apple was claimed by Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite,
each believing herself most worthy of its glee. To settle the dispute, they turned to a mortal shepherd prince, Paris, son of King Priam of Troy, who had been exiled to the hills after an omen foretold he would one day burn the city of his birth. The gods brought him to judgment on Mount Ida, and one by one they offered bribes. Hera promised kingship over all men. Athena pledged wisdom and victory in war. But Aphrodite, with a smile and soft thunder, offered him the love of the most beautiful woman of all. Paris chose her, and thus Helen inspired, daughter of Zeus and lady of white-haired Hera, was born. She had many suitors in the world, princes and kings from across Africa. Grown up by the beauty, by the gods, by the Ajax the greater, son of Telmon, towering and grim. Ajax the lesser, swift and fierce. Diomedes of Argos, brave and battle-hungry. Idomeneus of Crete, stalwart and steady. From all the corners of Hellas they came, kings, princes and warlords. Only two held back. Odysseus, who pretended madness, sowing salt into his fields until a clever envoy placed his infant son before the plough. And Achilles, son of Thetis, who was hidden by his mother among the daughters of Lycomedes, dressed in silk to escape a fate she foresaw. But the Greeks found him, Odysseus, again, tricking Achilles with a spear and shield amid gifts of jewelry, and the boy chose war. They gathered at Owls, a fleet of 1,000 ships, bronze gleaming in sails like thunderclouds. But the winds did not rise. The ship sat idle, and the men grew restless. The sea calculus revealed that Artemis had been offended, perhaps by a boast, perhaps by a slain stag, and that only a great sacrifice would appease her. The name he spoke was Iphigenia, daughter of Agamemnon. There are stories of love told to women to her, under the guise of marriage to Achilles, of her weeping mother, Clytemnestra, of the moment the blade fell, or the last moment rescue, with Artemis spiriting the girl away, replacing her with a deer. But in most tellings the blood was red, and the gods watched as the king killed his own child for the sake of war. The winds came, the fleet sailed east, and the world changed. The Greeks set foot on Trojan shores, not as raiders, but as judgment itself. For 10 years they would camp beneath the walls of Ilium, the great city ruled by Priam, defended by his sons, Hector, noble and doomed, Paris, beautiful and weak, Deiphobus, Helenus, and the others. The gods chose sides. Hera, Athena, and Poseidon stood with the Greeks. Aphrodite, Ares, Apollo, and Artemis favored the Trojans. Only Zeus tried to stay abroad, but even he rebelled, pulled by fate and family. This was not yet the war known as Hera, which would begin in the 10th year. The war itself had already begun, not merely with spears and arrows, but in the burning of oaths, and the breaking of trust, and the sacrifice of daughters. the infection deepening. The Trojans, safe behind the mighty walls, raised, it was said, by Poseidon himself, and the mortal builder Apollo had once served in penance, suffered, but endured. The fields outside the city had long been razed, their allies came from the east and north. Sarpedon of Lycia, Menon of Ethiopia, and others, bringing new life to an old cause. And yet the Greeks would not leave, not without Helen. Pride held them there as much as oaths. The war had become a matter of legacy. But war does not live in walls and ships. It lives in the hearts of men, and in this war, two hearts burned hotter than the rest. Agamemnon, king of kings, stern and imperial, and Achilles, son of Thetis and Pelas, unmatched in battle, fated to die young, and determined to make that death matter. The quarrel between these two would shatter the fragile Greek alliance. It began, as so many quarrels do, over a woman. In one of many raids the Greeks had taken captive. Among them were Hera, daughter of a priest of Apollo, and Bruce, a princess of Eleusis. Creus was awarded to Agamemnon, Bruce to Achilles. When Creus' father came to ransom him, bearing golden gifts and reverent words, Agamemnon scorned him. The old man prayed to Apollo, and the god answered by fire from the sky and with flame. The silent killer that passed from east to west, fell in the earth. The prophet Calchas at last revealed the truth. Agamemnon forced his surrender Theseus to save his honor and did so, but in turn demanded Bruce from Achilles' compensation. As a slave Achilles was murdered, he rose to the throne of mount with growing despair. Some say Patetra was a friend, others a lover, but all agree he was the only one who could reach Achilles in his grief and fury. When the Trojans breached the Greek defenses and threatened to burn the ships, Patroclus begged Achilles to let him fight in his stead. He wore the hero's armor, rode his chariot, led the Myrmidons into battle, and for a time the Greeks rallied. But Patroclus, flushed with borrowed glory, went too far. He reached the gates of Troy, and there he met Hector. Their duel was brutal, and it ended with Patroclus falling beneath Hector's spear, and with him fell whatever peace remained in Achilles' heart. When Achilles learned of his death, his grief shook the camp. He did not weep like a man. He howled like a storm god filled with rage and ruin. He returned to battle not for glory, not for oaths, but for vengeance. His mother, Thetis, brought him new armor, forged by Hephaestus himself. Bronze that gleamed like the sun, a shield carved with the history of the world. Then Achilles went to war. No one could stand against him. He slaughtered men by the dozen, chariots overturned, blood stained the dust. He chased Hector around the walls of Troy 3 times before they met in single combat. Hector fought bravely, but Achilles was a fire no water could quench. He struck Hector down, pierced him through, and in rage dragged his body behind his chariot, circling the city day after day, denying the dead prince the dignity of burial. It was Priam, the old king of Troy, who brought an end to that madness. At night, guided by Hermes, he crept into the Greek camp and knelt before Achilles. He kissed the hands that had killed his son. He spoke not as a king, but as a father, and Achilles found no way. He returned Hector's body and gave him high safe passage. For a moment, there was quiet in the battle, but peace, as always, was fled. Achilles would not survive. Poisoned arrow, some say fired by Paris, others guided by Apollo, struck his heel. The only vulnerable, he died in the dust, young and unmanaged. The Iliad is not of the fall of Troy, but a shared grief. But the war still went. The gods were unfolded. Struck down while still a boy. Polydorus slaughtered in betrayal. The Trojans fought with the desperation of men defending not just stone, but history. And yet they endured, year after year, while the Greeks grew weary and restless beside their smoking campfires.
Then, just as the gods began to turn their gaze elsewhere, the Greeks vanished. At dawn, the Trojans climbed their towers and saw no sails upon the sea. The ships were gone. In their place on the plain outside the Scan Gate stood a colossal wooden horse, tall as a temple, its flanks stitched from smooth planked cedar, its mane carved in honor of Poseidon. No soldiers stirred, no weapons clashed. The war, it seemed, had ended in silence. Troy did not rejoice easily. Priam, old and cautious, questioned what he saw. Others urged caution, but it was Sun, a cunning Greek left behind who broke the city's fate wide open. Pretending to be a deserter, he spun a tale so clever it might have come from Odysseus' own mouth. The horse, he said, was an offering to Athena, a peace token left behind after the Greeks had sailed away. If the Trojans brought it into their city, it would guarantee their dominance for generations. But if they dared destroy it, ruin would follow. Only Lycaon, priest of Poseidon, spoke the truth. Beware Greeks bearing gifts, he warned, and hurled a spear into the side of the horse. The wood groaned. Something shifted within. But in that moment, as if the gods themselves had tired of another war, a pair of sea serpents, great and coiled, with eyes like burning coal, rose from the surf and crushed Leopold and his sons in the court. The people seemed as cold as snow, fully refused the gods' gift of ropes and wheels, and cheers and winds that brought the horses out of the that night, when the city feasted in the quiet silence, back goes the belly of the beast and the dawn of the out came the distance, and then, Hecuba, queen of Troy, watched her sons die and her city burn. The Greeks showed no mercy. Astyanax, Hector's infant son, was thrown from the walls so no heir might one day rise. Temples were desecrated, women taken, and the city of Troy, once the pride of Asia, was given to flame. Helen, whose face had launched 1,000 ships, was found in the palace. Some say she wept and begged for forgiveness. Others say she stood proud, untouched by grief. Menelaus, blade in hand, looked into her eyes and dropped the sword. He took her back to Sparta, and the war at last claimed its final victory. When dawn rose over the plain, nothing remained but smoke and ash. The walls had fallen.
The gods turned their eyes away, but the war did not end cleanly. The victors carried their own curses. Ajax the Lesser, who raped Cassandra in Athena's temple, was drowned at sea. Agamemnon, returning home with Cassandra as a concubine, was murdered in his bath by his wife, Clytemnestra. The house of Atreus bled on. Aeneas and Helen returned to Sparta, but their names were never clean again. The Medes, Meester, and others wandered into obscurity or exile. Odysseus, cursed by Poseidon, did not see home for 10 long years. His tale, a winding odyssey of shipwreck and monsters, would become its own legend, shaped by gods and laws. Only Aeneas, son of Anchises and Aphrodite, escaped Troy with his father on his back and his son by the hand. Guided by omens and stars, he carried the last ember of Troy westward toward Italy. From his blood, so the Romans would later claim, came Romulus, Remus, and an empire even mightier than Troy. The fall of Troy was not just the end of a city, it was the end of the heroic age, where men died with gods, where glory mattered more. Where fate was carved in flesh and stone. The wooden horse, the fire, the betrayal, the war. These were the final notes of the song that began and ended in ruin. The walls that had defied years of sea fell in a single night. The ashes of Troy drifted out to sea, borne on the winds that cloud carried with them. The fall of Troy is not the end of the story, the beginning of a new tragedy. One that brought back a feeling of power and cities to the dark sea, and the story tells again, and with the falling walls of lost men. For those who survived the journey shadow of a crime. The gods had not forgotten the sacrifice of Iphigenia, his daughter, slain to appease Artemis before the war began. But justice, once invoked in the house of Atreus, never arrives alone. It comes hand in hand with retribution. Years passed in Mycenae, but Clytemnestra's grief did not fade. It hardened. She remembered the child taken from her arms. She remembered the smoke rising from Aulis. She remembered Iphigenia's last bewildered cry. So while the kingdom whispered prayers for Agamemnon's return, she prayed for his undoing. And she was not alone. Aegisthus, born of exile and disgrace, carried the venom of his bloodline like a torch. His father had been served his own sons in a feast, an atrocity that stained their house in darkness older than memory. Betrayal was his inheritance, revenge his birthright. So the two became bound queen and exile, grief and fury, sharpening their hatred into a single blade. When Agamemnon returned, laurels on his brow and Cassandra by his side, he believed the gods had favored him. He believed the war was over, but in Mycenae, war had only been waiting. Some say Clytemnestra lured him to the bath with honeyed words. Some say Aegisthus struck first. Some say the tapestry she laid beneath his feet was not wood, but his bruises, red as prophecy. However it began, it ended in blood. Cassandra screamed her visions into the stone walls, visions no one understood, no one heeded, until the act silenced. The king's life spread across the floor of his brain, no one knew it, Clytemnestra stood above him, she spoke of sacrifice, she spoke of victory, she spoke of gods who loved to kinslaying with madness. His was a tale of blood and absolution, one that would echo in Athenian courts and myths for generations. But his was not the only path home. Twisted by divine hands, Menelaus and Helen wandered long across the sea, driven southward to Egypt by contrary winds.
Some versions say the Helen who went to Troy was only a phantom, and the real woman had remained in Egypt the whole time, waiting, unaged, while a war raged for her shadow. Others say she went willingly with Paris, and that Menelaus forgave her, wearied by war and longing for peace. They returned to Sparta at last, and ruled together in uneasy silence. But Helen's name, once a poem, had become a curse, and Sparta would never again rise as high as the day she left. But it was Odysseus whose journey became the most storied, the most sorrowful, the most enduring. After Troy he sailed not for home, but into a 10-year trial by sea, caught between the wrath of Poseidon and the whims of fate. He was no innocent. Odysseus had contrived the wooden horse and led the sack of Troy, and in doing so had desecrated temples and angered gods. Poseidon in particular had marked him for punishment. Odysseus' ship was hurled from island to island, each more strange than the last. He blinded Polyphemus, the Cyclops, son of Poseidon, escaping with the clever name of Nobody. He died with Circe, the sorceress, who turned his men into swine, and with Calypso, the sea nymph, who kept him as a lover for 7 long years. He journeyed to the edge of the underworld, spoke with the dead, and heard the song of the sirens, tied to the mast, while his crew rode with ears plugged by wax. He sailed between Scylla and Charybdis, lost all his men to storm and folly, and at last washed ashore, alone on the island of the Phaeacs, who, moved by his tale, gave him a ship and safe passage. At last he returned to Ithaca in rags and silence, his beard long, his eyes cold. There, in his absence, suitors had overrun his house, feasting and plotting to marry his wife, Penelope, who had waited, weaving and unweaving the same shroud like Hera. Odysseus, with the help of his son Telemachus, his loyal swineherd, and the bow and the Aegean string, slew the suitors one by one and brought before the court. In the end, there were no victors, only survivors.
Before the walls of Troy ever stood, before heroes raised shields or ships touched the wine-dark sea, there was a deeper current of power, older than man, older even than war, the rule of the gods. Their stories are often whispered beneath the tales of mortals, but it was the Olympians who won the very fabric of fate, and it was not always they who ruled. Before Olympus, there was chaos, and after chaos came Gaia, Uranus, Cronus, and the slow, violent birth of divine order. The age of the Titans had ended, with fire and thunder. Zeus, youngest of Cronus's children, had risen against his father, freed his siblings from the belly of the sky god, and cast the Titans into the black pit of Tartarus. In their place rose the Olympians, 12 in number, though their names and thrones shifted with time. Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Data, Hestia, Athena, Apollo, Artemis, Ares, Aphrodite, Hestus, and Hermes. Upon Mount Olympus they built a new order, not kinder than the one before, but shrewder, more complex, and far more entangled with the fates of mortals. Zeus ruled from his golden throne, the thunderbolt always within reach, his voice law among gods and men. But his rule was not born solely from strength. He was a king who understood alliances, who rewarded loyalty and punished betrayal. He divided the world among his brothers. The sky for himself, the sea to Poseidon, and the underworld to Hades. Earth and Olympus, they shared an uneasy balance. Around him, new patterns of fire. Hera, his sister and queen, claimed as goddess of marriage and childbirth, though her days were spent in fury and suspicion. Zeus was his liaison with countless goddesses, each union producing children from the battle. Heracles, Perseus, Helen, Minos, Olympian, Hera, ever watchful, punished his loving offspring. Poseidon, still human, burning up for the good, while Zeus was still fully formed and honored, goddess of wisdom and water, she favored mortals and created heavens that were beautiful. Odysseus and Ulysses, who guided cities and nations to flourish like a river and rose, and like Hera, who dwelt in the slaughter. All was one for Odysseus and Poseidon. The presence of light and Apollo and Artemis, twin children of Leto, brought light and shadow in equal measure. Apollo, golden-haired and radiant, ruled over prophecy, music, and healing. He claimed the oracle at Delphi, speaking in riddles through the Pythia, shaping kings and battles with a few cryptic words. Yet he could also bring plague, as he did upon the Aeaeans at Troy. Artemis, his sister, roamed the forests untouched by men, a huntress and protector of wild things. She asked no permission and gave no forgiveness to those who trespassed her sacred groves. Data, goddess of the harvest, kept the earth fertile, except when her daughter Persephone was taken by Hades. In her grief, Data let the crops wither, and from her sorrow, the seasons were born. Her myth echoed through every field, every cold winter and warm spring, a cycle of mourning and return. Aphrodite, said by some to have risen from the sea foam where Uranus' severed flesh fell, ruled love and desire. Her beauty stirred both gods and mortals to madness. She bound men's minds to ruin and pleasure alike. In the halls of Olympus she was married to Hephaestus, the lame smith god, but gave her heart and body to Ara, the god of war. Together they embodied the chaos of passion and conflict. Hermes, quick, Zeus, moved between worlds as messenger, thief, and guide of souls. He was the god of boundaries, both keeper and breaker of them. No door was closed to Hermes. He walked freely from Olympus to Hades, from feast to battlefield, a smile always playing on his lips. This new pantheon did not rule in silence. The Olympians were not distant creators. They were immanent, meddling, playing favorites, waging subtle wars through the hands of mortals. Unlike the Titans, who embodied elemental force, the Olympians were reflections of human nature, elevated to divine scale. Their loves were messy, their grudges eternal, their pride vast. They helped and hindered as one dictated. Cities were founded in their honor, sacrifices were burned for their favor, oracles spoke their name, and every home kept a flame of destiny. Goddess of the harmony, lust for glitter, and chaos in return. Yet beneath all their grandeur lay a constant truth. Their power in the past was not absolute. They were beloved by mortals, tricked by mortals, and outdone by time. Even Zeus and his glory was haunted by the same fear of the goddess of harmony. And one day, a child of nature lost their power. His union with Thetis was a madness. She was being stolen. The gods still held dominion over the world of men. And yet from distant lands and whispered prophecies came the faintest echo of change. New gods stirred beyond the horizon. The temples would not stay full forever, but Olympus, for now, still stood. The Olympians were mighty, but they were not unchallenged. Even as temples to Zeus reached toward the sky, and Athena's wisdom lit the minds of city-states, darker gods walked the earth. Gods of wine and madness, of death and rebirth, of things not carved into public altars but whispered in secret groves and torchlit caves.
Chief among them was Dionysus, the last to take his seat on Olympus, and the only one who truly stood between the divine and the wild.
Dionysus was no ordinary god. His birth alone defied the laws of nature and propriety. He was the son of Zeus and Hera, the mortal princess of Thebes. When Sumela, tricked by Hera, demanded Zeus reveal his true divine form, she was consumed by his thunderous radiance. Yet from her ashes Zeus plucked the unborn child and sewed him into his own thigh. Months later, Dionysus was born again, twice born, third time. And from the moment of his second birth, his path was unlike any other mortal. He was raised by Olympus, but in far corners of the world, among nymphs and Mythology, in the caves of the year, in the company of Socrates and Hera. He wanted, not merely to
him into the woods dressed as a woman, and there, in the trance of divine madness, his own mother, Agave, led the Maynards in tearing him limb from limb. Only when she returned to the city with her son's head on a thyrsus did the spell break, and the lesson settled like a shadow over all thieves.
Dionysus was the god of theater, as well as intoxication, of masks and performance, of truths hidden within lies. His festivals became the heart of Greek drama, where comedies and tragedies alike were performed in his honor. Through masks and songs, the Greeks gave shape to fears and desires they dared not speak aloud. To worship Dionysus was not to bow before power, but to surrender to it completely. And with Dionysus came something new to the Greek world: mystery cults, religions of initiation, secrecy, and rebirth. Unlike the formal rites of Olympus, mystery cults promise something personal. In the Eleusinian mysteries, followers of Data and Athena reenacted the story of descent and return of a daughter lost to death and found again. The Orphans, followers of the poet mystic Orpheus, spoke of Dionysus as a god torn apart and resurrected, a god whose suffering brought wisdom, and whose rites promised freedom from the cycle of rebirth. These mysteries did not reject the Olympians, but they moved beneath them, quieter and deeper. They offered hope where the thundering gods gave only lore. They whispered of a soul that could endure, that could transcend the mortal body, and in that promise, the old certainties began to tremble. Even on Olympus, the cracks began to show. The gods feuded more bitterly. Ares and Athena vied for the hearts of warriors. Apollo fell in love to Arthur, too fatal. Pinta, Daphne, Rose, even death and transformation was more. Aphrodite, jealous and capricious, punished mortals for the very desire she stirred. The gods began to resemble the mortals they were, proud, fickle, wounded, and Dionysus, the Olympian order had its meaning, its own doing. He was divine and yet lived as a mortal. He brought joy. He tore down things and built up things. And most importantly, he changed the nature of the business. The gods were no longer through history, through ritual, through art, and song, and madness. The mortals could further go from God, not in temples, but in themselves. In symbolic distance, they were born in the cities, the Olympians, for all their immortality and glory, did not confine their stories to the high halls of Olympus. They descended again and again into the world of men, in the form of lovers, tempters, warriors, or punishers. They mingled with mortals and left behind not just oracles or omens, but children. These children of gods and mortals, demigods, were born into a world that neither fully embraced them, nor could ever fully contain them. Some became kings, others monsters, but a few became legends, their stories lasting longer than the walls of Troy, or even the temples of the gods who sired them. Foremost among these was Heracles, the son of Zeus and Almon, a mortal queen of thieves. His conception was marked by trickery. Zeus came to Almon in the form of her husband, drawing out the night so that it lasted twice as long. From that deception Heracles was born, already shadowed by Hera's wrath. For Hera, the Queen of Heaven, could never abide her husband's infidelities, and she made the life of Heracles a crucible of torment. While still in his cradle, she sent serpents to kill him, and the infant strangled them with his bare hands. Heracles grew into a man of impossible strength, but it was not brute force that defined his legend. It was penance. In a fit of divinely sent madness, Heracles again, he killed his wife and children. Racked by grief, he sought purification at the oracle of Bennett. There he was told to send Eurydice, the petty king, and complete 12 ravens, each more impossible than the last, and wrestled the Nemean lion, whose hide no blade could pierce. He slew the Nemean eagle, cauterizing its ragged neck. He captured the Arabian bull, cleansed the stables of Perseus embarked on his quest armed by the gods. Hermes gave him the sword, Athena a polished shield. He stole the eye of the Grey, the old Grey sisters who shared one vision among them, and learned the Gorgon's location. With Athena's guidance, he approached as Medusa slept, using the mirror of his shield to strike without looking, and severed her head. From her neck sprang Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chrysa, a warrior of gold. Perseus escaped with their help, and on his return journey rescued Andromeda from a sea monster, married her, and founded dynasties. His lineage would carry on to Heracles, linking their stories by blood and fate. There were others, Theseus, son of Poseidon, or Aegis, depending on the telling, who slew the Minotaur in the labyrinth of Caucasus, bringing Athens into its first taste of empire. Bellerophon, rider of Pegasus, who killed the Chimera, but flew too high and fell. Atalanta, raised by bears and swift as the wind, sometimes said to be the daughter of Artemis herself, who raised suitors and killed love, but was undone by love and distraction. Demigods were never allowed peace. Their blood was too divine for cooking, too mortal for eternity. The gods watched them with pride and fear, for each one tested the boundary between Olympus and Earth, and the mortals worshipped them, not just for their triumphs, but for their struggles. They suffered, bled, and sometimes died. But in doing so, they became immortal, in a way the gods never could, through story. As the memory of Troy faded, as cities rose and fell, the tales of these children endured. They filled Amphi and temple friezes, echoed in poems and plays. And though the gods remained in Olympus, distant and growing more silent, it was in the lives of their mortal-born children that humanity found its meaning. Flawed, courageous, doomed, and glorious. In the world of Greek myth, power and unrest
shears no power in heaven or earth could stay her hand. And so if fate ruled all, what hope had man? The answer lay in omens and oracles, the strange subtle language of the gods and the signs sent to those who dared to read them. The Greeks did not believe they could change their fates, but they believed they might understand them. To see the future was to brace oneself against it,
to try, perhaps vainly, to prepare the soul. The most famous oracle in all of Greece was at Delhi, where Apollo spoke through the Pythia, a woman seated upon a tripod over a steaming chasm in the temple's stone floor. She inhaled vapors, slipped into trance, and delivered the words of the god in riddles and fragments. Kings, generals, and common men came to her, some to seek glory, others merely survival. But her words were never straightforward. Apollo did not deal in certainty. Her prophecy, like a blade, could cut both ways. So many stories twisted around her cryptic pronouncements. Chrysis, king of Lydia, asked the oracle if he should wage war on the Persians. She told him that if he crossed the river, he would destroy a great empire. He did not realize the empire would be his own. Oedipus, too, was told he would kill his father and marry his mother. His parents tried to thwart the prophecy by obeying him.
He in turn fled his supposed home to avoid fulfillment, only to walk straight into its jaws. The oracle, as always, had been correct. It was men's misinterpretation that had doomed him. There were other oracles too. The Dodona, the rustling of sacred oaks, revealed the will of Zeus. The Delos, the letter of the earth, revealed the but a moment Lydia, the power swinging hands of the dreams, and birds of fire, and the curling of the flame, and the voice to the the war, omens were sought for everything. The factual lightning, the flight of crows, the stairs of the journey, even of dragons. There were warnings, communications from the land. The general had ignored this as the only thing sacrifices were made before sea voyages, birds, swans, the entrails of goats and the living rocks were established by saints who divined the will of the gods and died in the entities of mercy. The art of reading was Zeus and Atlantis divided the wheels of time, and Tiresias divided the heart of feelings. They lived by the secret of God. Tiresias in particular, his wisdom unrivaled, his visions sometimes a curse to those who asked for them. But oracles and omens were not mere superstitions. They represented something deeper. The Greek understanding that mortals were not in control. No matter how mighty the hero, how noble the bloodline, how loyal the heart, the wheel of fate turned ever on. And in that turning, all must one day be broken. The gift of prophecy was not power, it was awareness, and awareness, too late, was often indistinguishable from tragedy. Still, men sought prophecy. They climbed mountain paths to Delhi, brought gold and goat blood, asked questions in trembling voices. For even if fate could not be changed, it could be faced.
To know the storm was coming was not to stop it, but it was perhaps to die with eyes open. In this tension between knowledge and helplessness, between the known and the fear, the Greeks found meaning. Their stories were not about victory over destiny, but dignity within it. Even the gods watched the loom of the fates, unable to sever the threads that dislocated. Hector knew he would die, and still strapped on his armor. Achilles knew he would not return, and still sailed to Troy. Oedipus sought to flee his doom, and instead ran headlong into it. And Athena kept breathing year after year, whispering riddles in the smoke. Her voice, the cold breath of a world that had already decided what was to come. Death was not the end of story, or merely the end of breath. What followed was not heaven or hell in the Christian sense, but a realm both more neutral and more ancient. A land beneath the earth where all the dead, great and small, noble and villainous, made their final journey. This place was Hades, named for the god who ruled it. And though it bore no flames, no pitchforks, no horned demons, it inspired a dread so deep that mortals seldom spoke the god's name aloud. They called him instead Pluto, the weapon. For all riches, all veins of silver and gold came from beneath the earth, and so too did the devil. The geography of the underworld was shaped not by logic, by myth and memory. At its threshold ran 5 rivers, Styx, the river of hatred and sacred oath. Hera, the river of sorrow, Phlegma of fire, Poseidon of lamentation, and Lepta of forgetfulness. Each marked a boundary, not only physical but spiritual. The dead rivals shattered, searching for breathless and bloodless, stripped of voice and form, and crossed in the The underworld had its judges, Minos, Rhadamanthus, and Iacchus, who weighed each soul. The truly wicked were cast into Tartarus, a chasm of torment deeper than even the Titan's prison, where oath-breakers, murderers, and traitors suffered torments crafted to mirror their crimes. Sisyphus rolled his stone. Tantalus thirsted forever beside unreachable water, and Ixion spun upon his fiery wheel. The rare few deemed worthy of reward passed to the Elysian fields, a paradise of soft winds, green meadows, and perpetual spring.
There, heroes might linger in comfort, their memories intact, their deeds honored. Still, fewer souls might choose to be reborn, passing through the river Lethe to forget their past lives, beginning the cycle anew. In later mystery religions, a soul might even hope to escape the will entirely and ascend to the stars, but such fates were rare and uncertain. At the heart of this realm stood Hades, stern and silent, a king without vanity. He did not seek worship, did not interfere in the affairs of mortals. He simply ruled, and he ruled absolutely. His realm did not change, and he preferred it that way. He was not evil, as later myths would paint him, but immovable, indifferent, the shadow cast by Zeus' storm beside his throne. And by his side stood this phenomenon, queen of the underworld, whose story, perhaps more than any other, reveals the strange duality of death and good. As for me was the daughter of Zeus, Over time, Persephone's role evolved. No longer merely a captive, she became a ruler in her own right, a queen of mysteries who walked among the shades with quiet authority. And the Eleusinian mysteries, the great secret rites held outside Athens, her descent and return were reenacted each year, promising not only the return of the grain, but the hope of renewal for the soul. The underworld was not entirely sealed. A few mortals journeyed there and lived to tell of it. Orpheus sang his way past Cerberus and charmed Hades and Persephone, only to lose Eurydice with a backward glance. Heracles brought Cerberus to the surface. Odysseus, guided by Circe, sacrificed to the dead and called up the ghosts of Tiresias, Achilles, Agamemnon. Each one told him that death was not glorious, only final. Better to be a slave in life than a king among shades, said Achilles, once the greatest of the Greeks. And so the Greeks built their tombs with care. They buried the dead with coins for killing, with weapons, wine, and songs. They poured libations and made offerings at the family home. For the dead were never truly gone. They haunted dreams, sent signs, and sometimes we rites in blood could even be called back for answers best left unspoken. The underworld was a mirror of life, of memory, of justice without appeal. It offered no heaven for the faithful, no hell for the faithless. It simply existed, vast and dark, ruled by a god who did not seek love or praise, only silence. In that stillness, the Greeks saw the shape of eternity, and in the stories they told of Hades and Persephone, of shallows and judgment, of rivers and thrones beneath the earth, they gave death its place in the order of the cosmos. Not as a punishment, but as a passage. Even the gods are not immortal, not in memory, not in power, not in reverence. There comes a moment in every mythic cycle where the divine grows quiet, where once vivid figures fade from the edges of men's dreams, and thrones once built in thunder and smooth by time. The gods of Olympus, slowly drawing near, Zeus became Jupiter, Hera became Juno, Poseidon became Jupiter, and so on. An active transformation is going into this year's record. One required the grandeur of Olympus, but it reshaped the gods to better reflect the time. Pulling strings behind Rome's founding, but something has shifted in Homer. The gods strolled the battlefield, naked in their passions, visible in the dust and blood. In Roman myth, they had become symbolic, distant, politicized. They no longer intervened as freely. They had become themes more than presences. And as the empire expanded, so too did its encounters with new gods and ideas. From the east came Mithras, a deity born from stone, slayer of cosmic bulls. From Egypt came Isis, mother of magic and life wrapped in silks and secrets. From Judea came a single invisible god, one who forbade images, scorned idols, and made no room for divine siblings or thunder-wielding kings. These new cults did not simply compete with the Olympians. They undermined the entire architecture of Greek belief, where the old gods ruled by appetite and hierarchy. These new faiths offered moral clarity, unity, and salvation. At the same time, philosophy began to erode the mythic world from within. Thinkers like Xenopanes had long mocked the idea of gods shaped in the image of men, arguing that if oxen had gods, they too would look bold. Plato admired the beauty of man, but cast doubt on its literal truth, suggesting the gods must be perfect and good, like the jealous, lustful figures who bicker on Olympus. Epicurus declared that the gods existed, but took no interest in human life, and that fear of divine punishment was a superstition to be cast off. Even Stoicism, like Stoics and Stoics, said that they were stories were not of lovers and vengeance, but of sin and salvation. In time, its temples replaced the old ones. Its hymns drowned out the liars. Its priests denounced the Olympians as demons or fictions. By the reign of Theodosius I, pagan temples were closed by law, the Olympic Games abolished, and the rites of sacrifice outlawed. The gods did not resist. There was no final war between Zeus and Christ, no divine siege of Jerusalem or Rome. The Olympians simply faded, like the last light of a long day.
The statues stood weathered and silent. Their altars went cold, the marble columns cracked and ivy crept up where priests once stood. The myths remained, but as literature, not faith. Children learned of Heracles in schools, not shrines. Artists painted Athena, but did not pray to her. The gods who had once commanded storms and fates were now stories, beautiful, strange, haunting, and yet they endured. Even as their temples crumbled, they lived on in whispers, in poetry, in the architecture of Western imagination. They returned in Renaissance paintings, in enlightenment philosophy, in romantic epics and modern retellings. They became archetypes of war and wisdom, of love and betrayal, of hubris and glory. The Greeks had given them human faces, and in doing so had made them eternal in a different way. Though the temples fell and the oracles fell silent, the myths of Olympus did not die.
They became echoes, faint at first, like a distant lyre strummed in the wind, then louder as time passed, and the world once again began to listen. For myths, unlike kingdoms, are not bound by stone and sword. They endure in the realm of imagination, and there, the gods have always found a way to return. During the long centuries of Christian dominance in Europe, the gods were not worshipped, but neither were they forgotten. Monks and scholars copied ancient texts, sometimes grudgingly preserving Homer and Aeon, Euripides and Sophocles, even as they condemned the beliefs these works once sustained. The old stories survived not in were allegories. To Goethe, they were mirrors of the soul. Romanticism followed, and with it, a return to the emotional, the tragic, the sublime. Writers looked to Oedipus and Antigone, to Orpheus and Eurydice, and found in them eternal questions. What is fate? What is love? What does it mean to be human? Then came the modern age. Myth was no longer confined to classical study. It appeared in literature, cinema, psychology, even comics. Carl Jung saw the gods as archetypes within the human mind, eternally re-emerging. James Joyce wove them into Dublin streets.
Rick Riordan reimagined them for school children in Manhattan. In Marvel and DC, the gods walked again, not in robes and sandals, but in armor and spandex. And always in the background, there remained the old tales, unchanged. Odysseus still sailed, Heracles still laboured, Pesfanani still rose each spring. They were not forgotten. They were simply translated generation to generation into new forms, new tongues, new dreams. Because myth is not fixed. It is living memory, shaped by those who carry it. What the Greeks gave us was not just a pantheon, but a framework, a way to explain the world, to wrestle with death, to honor beauty, to understand the self. Their gods were flawed, yes, but gloriously so. In them we saw not perfection, but potential. The agony of choice, the thrill of risk,